Above my kitchen table at home is a large framed copy of the Somerville family tree. I keep it there for inspiration. It's drawn to look like a tree. It's got roots and a trunk and branches. It's not especially beautiful. It looks something more like what you would find in an anthropology textbook than something you would find on the wall of an art museum. But it still inspires me. And that's why I keep it there, right above my kitchen table, the Somerville family tree. My own name is written along one of the twigs up near the top. But down around the base of the tree is the name of James Somerville, who came over to this country from Scotland in 1790 and eventually built a house on the banks of the Rapidan River near Culpeper, Virginia, that he called Somervilla. Good name. But way down among the roots of my family tree, there is a story about one of my ancestors who apparently saved a small village in Scotland from a giant worm. A giant worm, I say, which someone described as being in length 3 Scots yards and bigger than an ordinary man's leg. According to legend, this monster would emerge from its lair at dusk and dawn to ravage the countryside, eating crops, livestock, and people. It proved invulnerable to the weapons ranged against it, but that was before a certain William Somerville, described as a man of reckless courage, charged the beast with a long lance on which he had fixed a bundle of burning peat, tar, and brimstone. He plunged the lance into the monster's gaping mouth and down its throat, mortally wounding it. It thrashed about in a terrible way before it died, but when it did, the people of the village rejoiced and hoisted my ancestor onto their shoulders, hailing him as a hero. That's why I keep my family tree close by, to remind myself that I am descended from a great worm killer, so that I can be ready to spring into action should I hear a cry of distress and have to run upstairs to squash a bug. I mention all of this only because our Old Testament lesson from today begins with a reference to a family tree. It's the one belonging to Jesse, the father of David, the greatest king who ever lived in Israel. One of my ancestors killed a giant worm, apparently, and saved a small Scottish village from disaster. But David killed an actual giant and saved the people of Israel from their enemies over and over again. Not only that, but as the scriptures say, he was a man after God's own heart, and God loved him for it. In 2 Samuel 7, he promised David a dynasty that would never end. When your days are fulfilled and you lie down with your ancestors, God said, I will raise up your offspring after you, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be a father to him, and he shall be a son to me. I will not take away my steadfast love from him. Your house and your kingdom shall be made sure forever. But by the time of today's reading from Isaiah 11, things don't seem nearly so sure. David's family tree is on the verge of being cut down. 2 armies from the north have joined forces to attack Judah. They have conquered most of the Judean countryside and are now surrounding the capital city of Jerusalem. King Ahaz, a direct descendant of David's, is pacing back and forth in the palace, wringing his hands, wondering what to do, while his prophet Isaiah looks out the window and sees sunlight glinting off of swords and spears and helmets. Hears the jingle of horses' bridles and the creak of iron chariot wheels. Can almost feel the shuddering axe blows against the trunk of David's family tree. One of the commentators on this passage says Judah was in the most serious crisis it had ever felt. For the first time, the very existence of the nation was at stake. The royal line of David, which had remained unbroken for nearly 500 years, seemed about to collapse. The countryside and towns had already fallen. The capital was surrounded. A desperate King Ahaz did not really know what to do and struggled even to do the best he could. Under those conditions, a weary Isaiah eventually lay down to sleep. And as he slept, he dreamed of a time when the wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and bear shall graze. Their young shall lie down together. The nursing child shall put its hand over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall play over the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. It's a dream of peace, a time when even natural enemies like wolves and lambs, leopards and kids will be able to live together without hurting each other. It's the kind of dream you might have when you were at war, surrounded by your enemies, fearing for your life. But Isaiah is not just dreaming. Even at a time when it seems that David's family tree is about to be cut down, and it appears that nothing will be left but a stump, Isaiah receives this vision from the Lord. A shoot shall come out from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of righteousness and the fear of the Lord. His delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see or decide by what his ears hear, but with equity he will decide for the poor. He shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth. With the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. It's only after the coming of this particular king that the peaceable kingdom will come. And if you look closely, you can see why. Because unlike King Ahaz, the Spirit of the Lord shall rest on this descendant of David, this shoot from the stump of Jesse. He will care more about what the Lord wants than about what anyone else wants. He won't judge by what his eyes see or decide by what his ears hear, but with a kind of God-given insight. He will judge in favor of the meek and the poor. In other words, this king will bring God's own kind of justice to the earth, and only when that perfect justice comes will we have the perfect peace that Isaiah dreamed of.